Welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm Greg Anderson. It's nice to have you back. We are talking selectmen today. This is what we're going to talk about in the next 30 minutes. And right now we're looking at a May 9th election day, and we hope you get out there and vote. There are 2 seats open for the Board of Selectmen. Susan James is not running again. Dave Sampson is running again, so he is the incumbent. And there are 3 people who are running for those 2 seats. Charlie Holden, Claudia Gale, and my guest, incumbent Dave Sampson. Dave,
how are you, sir?
My friend.
Very good to see you.
Good to see you. So, you're back at it again. You're the incumbent. You're running. Lessons learned from the first go around.
You know, I just it's a different challenge every time we talk about something at the selectmen's table, and I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to what we can do to best serve the community and to best help people, and that's really where my passion comes from. It's from helping people. So, you know, lessons learned: always talk to people, be available, communicate, never stop campaigning, because we're constantly working to try to serve the common good. At the end of the day, it's a lot of perspectives that come into play from all of our constituents, and you have to be open to speaking to all of them, be available to all of them. And I really try to do that and really try to kind of take this role from the fairest possible perspective.
So your first term, how is the Dave Sampson in the first term different than the Dave Sampson in the second?
Well, I think we've got a lot of momentum during the first term. There's definitely some learning the ropes of how municipal government works at our level. You know, learning the intricacies of the different committees and departments of the town. And with that experience, I think comes a lot more opportunity to operate efficiently and get things done faster. You develop relationships with folks at the state level. You know who to go for, you know who to ask, people know who you are. So I think that there's a lot more opportunity to move things along faster. I'm a person that likes to try to keep the heat on and make things happen fast, and I promise you that the folks at Town Hall would tell you that, because sometimes when I ask to go faster, they tell me that we're actually already going faster than it's ever happened before. But you know, there needs to be urgency in the things that we do. I think that's important.
Yeah. Since you and I sat here the last time, a lot has happened. You know, a raft of issues have come before the selectmen. You've had to, you know, weigh in on things. Tell me, you know, don't answer as Dave Sampson, the selectman, but Dave Sampson, the person.
I am a person, actually. It does turn out.
I'm guessing that now.
Sometimes people wonder. They tell me that I'm too serious during the selectmen's meetings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So tell me personally, what have your biggest challenges been during your time as selectman so far?
My biggest challenges personally?
Personally.
You know, I interact with a lot of people. I obviously stay on top of the social media for folks that are on that platform. You know, we're always trying to educate people. I'm always trying to educate people about what the facts are. And I think one of the biggest challenges is the misperceptions and misinformation that exists when people don't understand why things come out to the outcomes that they do. Yeah. And I understand that there's a lot of moving parts and it's hard to keep track of. And obviously, folks that are in our seats have the best visibility to what's happening. We're engaged on an ongoing basis. It's in front of us all the time. But it's very easy to miss pieces of information that cause folks in the community to not understand how we've reached the outcome that we've reached. Who participated in that decision? Was there a town meeting? Was there a public hearing? What information came forward or didn't come forward? And, you know, why things happened the way that they did. And, you know, constantly re-educating folks about what's happening or educating them about what's happening. That's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've had with this job. But I think that getting that information out is so important that I don't stop doing it, as long as it's a reasonable conversation.
Right. I notice on Facebook that you are, you know, Facebook is a crazy thing.
It really is. And I will tell you, there are days that I would like to just disconnect from Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's the truth,
both.
for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important opportunity to talk to my constituents, and it has other values that I need to pay attention to. So it's an important place to be. But
well, you also see the funny things I post
I do.
Which
and
you enjoy.
I like them often.
And you like them often. But in all seriousness, here you are in a with the dramatics of the exchange that goes on about these issues. I do see you chime in. You kind of drop yourself into situations that must be pretty tough, and you don't always win.
Well, I try to tell the truth. I have very thick skin. I try to put the factual information out there. Sometimes people choose to attack me personally in those conversations, which I don't have a lot of tolerance for because I don't think it's appropriate. But it is what it is. People need to have the right information, because I think what you find, especially when you look on some of these local forums, is that if the right information doesn't get injected in a relatively quick manner, it spirals out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps
with a very large
compounding
audience
on top of itself, right? So I try to put the right information in there. I try to do it in a reasonable and respectful way. And hopefully, as long as people are talking about the truth,
right,
I'm very willing to own anything that I've participated in.
Right.
And sometimes people are like, well, 15 years ago, this happened. Well, I understand, and I understand that was a frustrating thing that happened 15 years ago, but it's 15 years later now.
Right.
We need to look at the opportunity that's in front of us. Why are we making the decisions that we're making today? Let's learn from what happened in the past and do things differently now, because we have that opportunity.
Are you the designated social media guy on the board? I mean,
only by my own appointment.
Okay, so there's no discussion about, okay, who's gonna?
No, there's really not.
Okay.
And sometimes even, and you're not the first person to ask me that question.
Yeah.
I kind of almost spearheaded, in my own beliefs, I kind of spearheaded the social media interaction from the board when I started campaigning just over 3 years ago. I think it's been an important tool to stay in front of people. If anything, people may judge me for using it too much, or maybe even bending the rules a little bit based on what the town's social media policy is. But at the end of the day, the conversation that's one of the places the conversation happens.
Right.
And we need to be there. And one of the things I think I've been able to accomplish throughout my tenure is increasing the availability and accessibility of our local elected officials and changing the accountability equation. Because I think what happened before was that, public forums existed, email addresses existed, all these things existed, but that level of real-time or potential real-time interaction was not common 3 years ago.
Right.
And that's changed.
Well, it must be a challenge that here you're on television every week with with the meetings. No one really shows up, or very few people show up, in comparison to who gets on Facebook and starts mouthing off about something they think is going on. And to your point earlier, they don't really know the process, or they don't really truly understand it. But there's much more weight on the drama of social media than there is on saying, you know what, I'm going to go to that meeting, I'm going to really understand this, and maybe afterwards I'm going to pull Dave aside and say, can you clarify how you have that accessibility? But that must be challenging to have.
It can be. I mean, I do repeat the same information a lot on social media. The way that government works, and local government as much as any other government process, is all process driven. And if you want to be successful in accomplishing what you individually want to accomplish, you need to participate in the process. And that's what I tell people consistently. If you want to see change, this is the process to get to that change. If you want to accomplish whatever it might be, a permitting issue in town, this is the process. You need to follow the process because it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And if I can keep pushing that information out about how to get things done, hopefully that helps people. And we've accomplished great things, in my opinion, and the opinion of others.
We're going to bounce on on a bunch of different subjects, because while I have you, I'm going to fire them off.
It's pretty. Is this a Facebook discussion, or I'm not used to this real life?
On any exactly, I know we have to converse. The office consolidation, municipal office consolidation. At one point, it was just an issue of, hey, let's take Jan Sebastian and let's take the town hall annex and pull them together. Here's a good little opportunity up on the hill at 100. And then it became something much more. Neil O'Brien stepped in. It then became a little bit more of a, what about us over at the Council on Aging? A few questions for you on this. You stated, these are my words, not yours, but it appeared as if you were caught off guard by Neil's public statements about how the selectmen were not really paying attention to the needs or the opportunity that the Council on Aging could have in that space. It seemed contentious. How did it get to that point, in your opinion?
I think, the biggest issue that I took with the way that occurred was that I wanted to be personally contacted, especially when there's letters going out to the newspaper that invoke my name. I think that's fair. And that was my biggest complaint about the way that entire situation happened. I understand that the seniors have had a request on the table for a long time for an upgraded facility. I think that we have a lot of requests for a lot of resources that people are looking for, and that they're all important. And everybody wants all those projects to happen at the same time. But we can only do so many projects at once. There's only so much money. There's only so many things that we can ask for from the taxpayers, because unfortunately that's where a lot of the funding source comes from for these types of initiatives. And I think that's why this project has taken as long as it's taken to get to where it is. I don't think anybody's discounted the significance of the need for an upgraded facility. But I also understand everybody has their position on their issues, and they have the right and opportunity to approach those issues however they choose to do so. And that's okay, but I have the same opportunity.
Right. Did that exchange, did the position that the Council on Aging took on the bank building specifically, did that force the hand of the selectmen to make the Council on Aging new space more of an issue, more of a priority? Did it advance the agenda? Did it get your attention?
I think it advanced the agenda. I think that's fair to say. So if we look back over the last 6-8 months, back to the time frame of last summer, the Selectman's office, along with the COA, the library trustees, and the school department have been having an ongoing conversation regarding how are we going to accomplish a funding initiative to build a new Center for Active Living community center, perform the upgrades that the library has asked for, and get the school department central offices at some point to the existing human services building. So this has been an ongoing conversation that was happening at the Selectman's office at Town Hall prior to all of these things coming out in the public. So given that conversation was occurring, we were actually working on solving the issue. That was part of the reason why I think this was kind of a curveball, when all of a sudden a little bomb went off and said, okay, we see interest from the town in this building, we would like to take that space.
Bud went through, it was on the 4th, April 4th, that Bud walked through the numbers and basically said, here's what we're looking at, particularly anything that had to do with impact on taxes. And there is, I just actually saw that there is an open house on April 27th.
There is.
From 9 to noon. So it seems as if there is, the dust has settled as it relates to the consolidation issue and kind of pushing the Council on, not pushing, but the Council on Aging not using that space. That seems to have dissipated. What is the next step, in your opinion, and I know we got the special town meeting in the fall, but what is the next step? What do you think is the best next step for the Council on Aging getting the space that they want?
Yeah. So I honestly think that's up to the Council on Aging, and I don't know that I have a recommendation of what they should do, but I will tell you this. So my opinion on this is that the seniors do deserve a new facility. My preference is that we construct a purpose-built facility that best serves the needs of the seniors and the entire community. I don't think that repurposing a office building that was a bank will really serve everybody justice and serve the community justice for the long term. I don't think it's the right thing to do. And that's why I don't support that initiative. So given the attention that this issue has received, I personally made the motion to commit to the fall special town meeting with the ask to use alternative revenue sources to fund the project so it would not impact the taxpayers. I called Mr. O'Brien the following morning to let him know, and I also emailed the library trustees to let them know. They were very receptive to it. Mr. O'Brien said it was a very good first step, and we're continuing those conversations. Where those conversations will go beyond where they're at right now, I don't know. What will happen at town meeting, I don't know. I do have a very strong belief that the operations of our town are inefficient. We have employees at Town Hall the Town Hall Annex, Jan Sebastian, here where we are now, and Oakcrest Cove. We have some folks over there too. These are all the people that work together every day. If you were going to design a business with tens of employees that were miles apart from each other, how does that make any sense, especially when we're kind of in the customer service business?
Yeah.
There's certain tasks that you need to go to the Town Hall Annex for and then come up here and go back.
Right.
So there's really two pieces of this. The customer service piece is great, that convenience for town residents, but from my perspective, given my career and the things that I've done, the way that we operate the town as a business from an oversight and efficiency perspective is terrible. And I think it's really, if you look historically, the town acquired the Town Hall Annex building from the Sandwich Cooperative Bank in 1977. And the Santander building was the building that Sandwich Cooperative Bank moved into in 1977, which is the same bank where I opened my first bank account when I was a little kid, because I've lived here for most of my life.
Yeah.
So I think it's serendipitous that we're looking at history repeating itself 40 years later.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
And the way the building is fit out today, it's a perfect use case for that office consolidation.
Yeah.
The Town Hall Annex and the Jan Sebastian buildings both require significant maintenance, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So why are we going to invest into a model that we know isn't great, when we could liquidate those buildings? They're both very marketable buildings. Some people have said to me, well, geez, we can't sell the wing school. How are we going to sell these buildings? Apples and oranges. The Town Hall Annex is on Main Street. It's adjacent to other properties that I'm sure would have great interest in that property. In the Sandwich Industrial Park here, the building that's here has a good amount of acreage with it in addition to the existing building, so you could actually build something much bigger there. And the land here and the real estate here in this development is in high demand. So I'm very confident that those buildings will sell easily.
Okay. You used the word historic. I want to talk about some historic elements. The Deacon Eldred House. Boy, what a shame. That whole situation, from very dramatic selectmen meetings, Tom Keyes and his messaging, written communication from Bud to Tom. I mean, it was pretty crazy there. What the hell happened?
Well, I guess at the end of the day, not a lot happened, right? It turned out to, and I guess that was the problem. And it's unfortunate, because I thought it was a good opportunity for Tom's organization. I thought it was a good opportunity for the town. But given the fiduciary responsibility that we have as the Board of Selectmen entrusted with the taxpayers' assets, it's our job to make sure that somebody that's a leaseholder with the town, it's our responsibility, it's the town manager's responsibility, the selectman's responsibility. The town manager reports to us, so it fits together, right? It's not fair to the community when people are not honoring what they've agreed to do.
Right.
And I think that's what happened there. The way that it happened and the length of time it took to get to where we are is unfortunate. But I can promise you that I did everything possible to try to make that be successful. And we allowed as much time as possible to try to make that be successful, but it wasn't successful. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. So this one didn't work out. It's unfortunate, but we obviously need to go back to the drawing board on what happens with that particular asset.
Did the selectman get duped at the outset with? I mean, he doesn't have a nonprofit. I mean, it's not a nonprofit, though it was stated he had disclosed that as it was. I mean, at the outset, this was kind of doomed from the beginning.
So the selectmen did, and I was involved, so the selectmen did perform diligence, and we did set out initial requirements. We included objectives inside that lease that were actually brought forward by the NAAC because we asked them to. So we didn't kind of dictate what they needed to do. We didn't dictate the timelines. We said, we need you to commit to what you're going to do and tell us how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and show some financial wherewithal to make those accomplishments, and they did. I think if you look at the lease contract, I don't know that it states in there specifically regarding the nonprofit status, but the nonprofit status, or non-status has been produced, right? So I think it's unfortunate. I wished it had gone a different way. And again, I think that particular situation, the thing that frustrates me is it was a great opportunity for something big to happen.
Yeah.
Another one of these situations where it happened over a long period of time. There's a lot of facts. A lot of folks probably don't have the picture of the full story.
Yeah.
I've tried to provide a little bit of education around that, and my intention is not to drag Mr. Keys or the NAAC through the mud, because I don't think that's fair. What happened, and we need to move forward and do what's best for the community.
We have all of these assets, Deacon Eldred, Hoxie House, Town Hall, all of these things, now the Sand Hill Community Center, wonderful, wonderful assets. The question is being asked, how do we capitalize on that? How do we manage that to utilize these spaces, almost asset manage them, to make sure that we're capitalizing on tourism, that we are using them the best way, that we can have someone that could write grants to support some of this. Do you think a position like that could help now that we have these, not now that we have,
What type of a position,
someone that would own the responsibility?
Yeah, I think someone needs to own the responsibility. I'm not sure that it's a town employee that needs to own the responsibility. As a town, we are good at doing certain things, right? We can't be good at doing everything. So I'm not confident that we're in the tourism business, for example. If we hired a person for that to be their job, ideally, if you take those assets, the Hoxie House, something needs to happen with Deacon Eldred, the grist mill. The way that it stands today, we have tourists coming and seeing the grist mill and the Hoxie House, but it's really a taxpayer expense. The folks that we hire via the recreation department to be on site and manage the ticket sales and do all those things, it's really a loss today, without question. So we need to find a better way to capitalize on that. I do have some ideas about that. I'm not going to share them with you today.
Come on.
Sorry, I know that's what you're waiting for. But they involve some other folks that I would want to talk to them about it first.
Okay.
But I do think there's some ways to
You're
do that.
happy to share that with them.
I'm very good at sharing, and I share a lot. But going back to our previous discussion, I like to share it with people directly before I do it to a bigger audience.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't want to, perhaps ruin what might be an opportunity. And maybe it's not an opportunity at all, but like any opportunity, if you don't ask, nothing will happen.
Right.
So I do think that those things need to be addressed. They're on my radar. I do have a very good idea about what we could do with it, and maybe I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. All right. Well,
when the cameras stop.
When the cameras stop, exactly. Over getting a beer somewhere. Historic preservation. I have a show here that is on. It's called The House Detectives, and
I've watched it.
Thank you. We there are these homes that have been abandoned. They are in disrepair. They're unsafe. No one's living in them unless they have four legs and they're running up and down the property. But we have had zero enforcement, it appears. Buildings that should be fenced are not fenced. Probably fines levied against some of the homeowners has not been happening. Brendan Brides, I think, is terrific. You've got now a new face over there, literally over there. Do you feel that with him being there now, or maybe just a change of focus, and maybe even in your next term, that there can be more accountability on that from the town to the homeowner?
I think there can be. I mean, there's certain amounts of things that we are able to do. So, I'm not an expert on the building department or building codes or when we have the opportunity to order fences and issue violations, to be honest with you, but I'm always happy to ask those questions. I know that the building department does a significant amount of work with inspections and just issuing building permits, given the amount of activity that happens on a regular basis. But, it's unfortunate to see the state of some of these homes, and as I've watched your program, the stories behind how they got to where they are, and what the property owners are choosing from the perspective of just neglecting these properties. We can do things within a certain limit, and I'm happy to bring more attention to the issue. But to be honest with you, you're the first person to raise that specific issue with me in this context.
I think it's an important one, and it's kind of the eyesore no one wants to look at. I mean, right next to, right in the village.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, you want to get on that?
I'm
kidding.
Let me grab my phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll walk across the street.
Yeah, exactly. Let me change the subject. Your wife Penny owns the Wish Gift Company.
We do.
Both of you do. I'd just like to.
She does all the work.
I was going to say, let's give Penny the credit on that. You got one location at Merchant Square, one over in Mashpee Commons. Business seems to be doing well, but let's just use Penny in this situation. She's a small business owner in our community. I'm going to get to the whole Chamber of Commerce situation, but does the town of Sandwich, in your opinion, from your experience, help and serve and bring value to the small business owner in this community?
I think it depends on your perspective of what the role of the town of Sandwich is in doing that. You know, I'll save any Chamber of Commerce comments based on what you said. I do know that there's a lot of resources inside the town to help people accomplish what their goals might be as it applies to town-related services. So whether that's building things or planning things, you know, obviously, and I said this before, you need to find the process and follow the process to have the most success getting to where you want to get with the town. So from my perspective, it's putting a sign on the building and getting through the right process to accomplish that. You know, I don't think the town is necessarily the marketing vehicle for our small businesses. Now, we had made some changes at the last annual town meeting, I believe, regarding how the vacation fund works, you know, and we have that available that a lot of people don't know about, but there is that vacation fund, and I can't remember the exact name of it at the moment, where people can basically apply for grant money for things that will promote tourism-related activities.
Okay.
And that is a resource that I think a lot of people don't know about.
The chamber situation, kind of a messy situation with the departure of the executive director. You have Denise Dever in there right now. I know Denise.
I didn't even know that, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that Denise was there.
I believe she is kind of triaging.
And I know Denise, she's great.
Yeah,
I just didn't know that. So
Yeah. So, you know, there is a, or at least I hope she is. I believe she is, but.
We'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of changes over there. What's going on with the Chamber of Commerce? What are you most concerned about?
So I can't tell you what's going on with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not on the board of directors. They're not a town entity, which is a big misperception by a lot of people in town. They think that the town built that building and that it's a town operation. It's not. As a chamber member, there's certainly concern from my perspective about what's exactly happening, and I'll be honest with you, I've asked a few folks and nobody seems to be able to tell me. So as a chamber member, and I'm sure that people won't be happy to hear me say this, it provides some uncertainty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Talk to me about process. New public safety complex, the wastewater issue, Kensington Road private road improvement bylaw. You guys have tackled a lot. How has your board, how has this board worked together, good times and bad?
I think that we have a pretty strong board at the moment for the most part. You know, certainly disappointed that Sue is going to be leaving us. She has an incredible amount of history about the town and what's happened and why it's happened in regard to selectmen related, town meeting related operations going back to the 80s. You know, and interestingly enough, just a few weeks ago, she gave me a picture of herself in the archive room at the library at a finance committee meeting when she was my age, which is 41, with my dad, who was also on the finance committee at the time.
No kidding.
Yes, because at the time, I was probably, you know, 10 years old or something like that, 12 years old. But when my dad was on the finance committee, I would go to the finance committee meetings with my dad and play chess and run around the library, because the finance committee meetings went much later than our current finance committee meetings. I don't know why. But, you know, so that was interesting. But, you know, I think everybody works really well together. I think everybody's very in touch with the community, which is positive. And, you know, some of these initiatives, the Kensington Drive project, here's a project that I really personally spearheaded in a lot of ways. I really pushed for this to happen. But that's a challenge that's existed in this community for 30 plus years. It's a problem that affected real people every day, hundreds of residences in the town. You know, I wasn't excited about the town expending the $35,000 it took to repair the problem, but we solved a big problem, and it's a transportation problem for kids, families, public safety. So that's something I'm very proud of, actually. and the folks that I worked with from the neighborhood that helped accomplish that. I can't accomplish anything at the end of the day without the support of the people in our community.
Yeah.
And I have the ability to bring things forward from my seat at the selectmen's table, but if they're not supported by the community, whether it's bank consolidation or the new senior center project, however that comes together,
Right.
I really can't accomplish anything. But the public safety complex, you see the buildings over there. The police station is mostly finished and complete. The fire station is tracking to be done in just about 3 months.
Yeah. If you and Charlie Holden win your seats, the optics of that board, Susan James won't be on there, but it's all guys, most of them retired except you and Shane.
And they've all worked in public safety.
Yes.
All of them.
So isn't there a little bit of like you're all kind of the same, and is that a good thing?
I stopped making this joke. I haven't made it in a while, but it's the board of retired public safety officials. But it's true, right? It's not bad. But obviously Mike has been in town for a very long time. Our police chief. He has tremendous knowledge about our community, and Bobby knows everyone. Literally knows everyone.
Yeah.
Shane, he's kind of a wash ashore, I guess, and I don't label people that way, but he has fire experience from where he's came from. And Charlie Holden, literally, I can't say enough good things about Charlie Holden. He is a person that truly loves to serve people.
Yeah.
I see him at every selectmen's meeting, every finance committee meeting that I go to, every school committee meeting that I go to, and he was he worked his way up to be chief of a 60-person volunteer fire department
in New Jersey,
in his former community.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you Google his history on that, there's some very interesting stories that you'll find. I learned some things about him, which I found quite fascinating.
Yeah.
But he's a very good person.
Okay, we're very close.
I could talk for 2 hours. That. So
well, again, we both went to Emerson College, so we're
good communicators.
Good communicators. Before we wrap up, let me ask you one thing. So here you are, sitting up on the stage at town meeting, and the lights are on you guys, and you see that 1 or 2 people get up at that microphone, and you think, oh my God, we're going to be here all night. This is going to be rambling. This is going to be, it's that person. How do you manage through that? I mean, I'm looking, everyone watches you and we're thinking, why doesn't that person just zip it? But you guys have to take it on the chin. What's going on in your head?
I have a lot of patience. I have very thick skin. I've taken a lot of abuse in this job. Everybody has their right to speak, right? Everybody has their right to participate in the process. And I'm okay with that, as long as we're all talking about the truth.
Right.
And people are going to throw stones and make judgments. I'd encourage those same people to make those judgments and be willing to step up and do what we do. Mm-hmm. And if they feel that strongly about the issues as they're expressing them, to take some action and do something about it. I signed up for this job because I felt like I could provide value, and hopefully my constituents agree that I've accomplished that in the last 3 years. I think I have. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. I suppose when it comes to town meeting, and I think I might have a little reputation for being overly direct with people sometimes, I obviously have a microphone, so if things start to really go the wrong direction, I just speak up. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's appropriate or not, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But the most interesting thing from town meeting, and you'll like this one, is because people will actually make comments about the selectmen while they sit in the audience. So I get to hear those from my wife, because people don't know who she is, about what they're saying when I speak. And that's actually something that I get a good chuckle out of.
I do move around the room, try to see who I can
She has her eyes on you.
to.
She knows who you are. She's paying attention to what you're saying about me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 questions. I'm asking all candidates.
All right.
To answer
Is this like
these
a yes,
questions.
no?
Yes
Multiple
or no,
choice?
or you're going to give me your
Oh,
best
wow.
answer.
All right, okay.
Okay, I'm mixing it up for you. Number 1, Market Basket or Stop and Shop?
Stop and Shop.
Favorite Sandwich High School team sport?
Oof. I don't have a choice. They're all great.
Okay. Fox News or CNN?
I don't watch the news.
Really?
If I'm going to watch the news, I got to watch like 8 newses.
Okay.
That's not even a word. But I have to watch 8 versions of the news to try to figure out the story. I don't watch the news.
So how about this one? Enterprise or Broadsider?
I read them both.
Okay.
I have Google alerts on all news stories. I read all of them.
Of the following, which names, and this is going to trip you up,
Okay.
which names are not historically significant in sandwich?
Oh boy.
Nye, Wing, Smack Bottom, or Tupper?
Yeah, I'd have to go with the smack bottom on that one. So
Okay,
I
all
was
right.
sweating there for a minute there. You almost had me.
Well, you know, and I really enjoy having all of you guys say Smack Bottom on television. It's fun. Good luck, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. You're a very busy man. We are out of time, so I'll wrap this up. Thank you to this whole Sandwich Community Television team. They do a fantastic job. Our goal is to bring all of you insight and opinion and perspective as you round up to this next election. I'm Greg Anderson. We'll see you next time.